1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Good morning, guys.
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Hey, guys, I'm James Hake of the Hake Report. It is Tuesday, August 13th, 2019, fourth hour of the Jesse Lee Peterson Show video stream. And you can find my podcast on thehakereport.com. But live, you catch me Monday through Friday on Jesse's stream. Sundays on my own streams. You can find the Hake Report channels there. So I wanted to talk about how it is Men's History Month, and men are not supposed to be triggered, right? You know, triggered is a female word, and it's not even good for females to be triggered, but Men's History Month. But I got triggered yesterday by Elizabeth Warren. Talk about insanity, right? Elizabeth Warren is a Massachusetts senator, I guess. It shows you how bad Massachusetts is. Is that Massachusetts? I think she is. And she's better known as Pocahontas. And giving Pocahontas a bad name, honestly. But she acts like she's Indian. Like she was told that by her mother that she was Indian. And it's funny because I can relate because I feel, and I don't know if I dreamed it, but as a kid, I think I was told by my dad and the rest of us kids, maybe it was before my brother was born, my youngest brother, but that my grandfather on my dad's side, my dad's dad, that the doctors found Indian blood in him. I think I've told this story before in early Hake Report episodes, and I'll get into more details about that later, but anyways, so maybe I'm 1,024th Indian, like Elizabeth Warren. But anyways, Elizabeth Warren is a far left, like socialist sounding person. I remember when I first heard about her was when I was producer for the Jesse Lee Peterson Show, and she had this nasty line about, it was basically the same idea as what Obama talked about with, you didn't build that. If you have a business, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen. There were roads that the government put together for you and all the other taxpayers, so we need socialism. It's basically what he was pushing. She did the same thing. She's like, he's a successful businessman. Well, good for you. And very nasty and sarcastic and anti-business, anti-normal people. And she's a politician. I distinguish the normal people from the politicians because politicians tend to turn really fake. And she is genuinely nasty and pretty fake. She doesn't come off as fake as, say, Hillary Clinton. But she is evil. As evil, maybe, as Hillary Clinton. She tweeted just this past Friday, and I didn't see it until yesterday. 5 years ago, I have the tweet. 5 years ago, Michael Brown was murdered by a white police officer in Ferguson, Missouri. So she says he was murdered. Michael was unarmed, yet he was shot 6 times. I stand with activists and organizers who continue to fight for justice for Michael. We must confront systemic racism and police violence head on. And that was posted around noon, August 9th. It was Friday. And Michael Brown was killed way back, I think in 2014, maybe? Trayvon Martin was killed back in 2012, I believe, February 2012. And Mike Brown, I think he was killed in 2014. I could be wrong. So that's 5 years ago. And after that, there were all these riots. And Al Sharpton showed up and he said, hands up. And the crowd chanted, don't shoot. And the whole hands up, don't shoot was proven, even to the satisfaction of the liberal media, to have been a lie. The hands up, don't shoot. He did not say that. He did not raise his hands. If he raised his hands, he put them down and still charged after the officer. You can read about it in Jesse Lee Peterson's book, The Antidote. Healing America from the Poison of Hate, Blame, and Victimhood. Jesse lists a whole bunch of events along these lines, including Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, and even Officer Michael Slager, who shot that man in the back, Walter Scott, whom you heard at the end of the Jesse Lee Peterson show, if you were listening. That black guy call and try to confront Jesse on it over Jesse's disagreement with Fox News host Sean Hannity and some liberal beta male, Leo Terrell, a wannabe civil rights guy, lawyer, black, emotional guy, made a scene and walked off the set because he couldn't stand Jesse talking about how most blacks hate whites and cops even throughout this incident. Because this incident of not just Mike Brown and Trayvon Martin, but the Walter Scott being shot in the back by Michael Slager, I think it was Michael Slager, was being used to excuse black hatred of police, to totally ignore the fact that blacks tend to, or in all these instances, tend to escalate and unnecessarily escalate, run away from the cops, fight with the cops, struggle over their tasers and stuff like that. And that's what's happening. And why is it that you do not see an outcry or a questioning of the black community? Why are they always running? Why are they always struggling? You just see a bunch of excuse making and no sense of, well, they brought it on themselves. And that's a fact. So Mike Brown, the actual story goes, according even to Eric Holder, who is a horrible person, a liar, a black far-left liberal who served as attorney general under Barack Obama during this time when Mike Brown, Ferguson riots were happening this is when Black Lives Matter started and had its heyday, because Obama was feeding it, bringing them over to the White House, and the media was feeding it. Trump doesn't feed Black Lives Matter, you'll notice. That's why they are severely diminished. But the story goes, according to the evidence and the reports, including the Department of Justice report, which the Department of Justice tried to smear the police department anyway, totally fake attacks on the Ferguson Police Department by the DOJ under Eric Holder. But he could not lie about the actual incident because the evidence was quite clear that Mike Brown tried to grab Officer Darren Wilson's gun in his vehicle, cruiser. I think it was an SUV, police vehicle. Tried to make him shoot himself with it or shoot him with it. Shot through the something. And then Officer Darren Wilson got the gun from him, and Mike Brown started to run away, and then he turned around and decided to charge the officer, and the officer shot him, hit him in the hand, hit him in the top of the head because he had his head down like he was charging, and Mike Brown got himself killed. Basically like suicide by cop, because these people, and Jesse points out these incidences in interview after interview with black liberals who debate him. Why are the blacks getting killed and the white mass shooters not getting killed when they're heavily armed and stuff like that? Well, the white mass shooters are cowards, and they want to live. Once they're confronted by a guy with a gun, hands up. When these blacks who are very belligerent, full of rage and insane and no will to live anymore, they attack, and it's like they value no life, including their own. And so this whole Black Lives Matter thing is quite a misnomer, because they don't really care about the black lives, because the blacks are throwing away their lives and their children's lives with abortions and stuff. And many people, other races, are doing it too. And whites are not even having babies, by the way. But Elizabeth Warren repeats the smear. It's libel to say that Mike Brown was murdered, and that's putting former Officer Darren Wilson in danger, and that's why officers like Darren Wilson have to go into hiding, only hang out with other whites, white conservatives probably, because white liberals will probably think that he was murdered because liberals have their own mindset. They live in their own reality, false reality. And I have a story for you about the New York Times, if I have the time to get to it, about this racism thing. New York Times has their first African-American CEO. I forgot about this. Or a chief editor, I should say. Dean Beckett or something like that. You should Google him and get a Wikipedia picture of him or something that's not copyrighted if you have time. But let me get to some calls because you guys have been waiting for a while. Naiti, am I pronouncing your name right? Out of Florida, first time caller.
Naiti.
Nate. Nice to hear from you. Thanks for calling the show.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, James. And I wanted to send a command out to Jesse also.
Okay, cool. Right on.
Right. I kind of wanted to just spread a little news. I really feel like if you're alpha, you really shouldn't have any bias sites in your dialect.
You any what in your dialect?
Bias as far as race baiting and things of that matter.
Race baiting? What's race baiting?
Whites.
Hey, explain what race baiting means. A lot of people don't know what that means, and I don't think I even really know what it means.
Well, as far as my definition of it, it could be many. It depends on the person, but my definition of it is that when you subjugate one set of colored people from another different set of colored people.
When you subjugate, you said?
Yeah. When you. Yeah.
What does subjugate mean?
Putting them in different categories and subjects or sub.
You mean separate?
Categorizing them. Subjugate could have been a mixing of.
So categorizing them just means saying black people, white people. That's categorizing,
yeah,
and that's race baiting.
Emphasis on different groups. Yeah.
That's race baiting.
Yeah, I believe it is.
No, man, not necessarily. No, that's not true.
One race, the human race.
No, don't fall for that. No. Yes, we're all human, but don't fall for that because that's not facing reality, man. Everybody, whether for whatever reason, and it's probably partly because of what you're saying, and I can agree on a certain level, say identifying with your race is kind of bad for you because it's a false identity. It's a shallow identity. You're supposed to identify with what's right. But identifying with your race is bad for you. I can sympathize with that, definitely, because I look at the people that I know most identify with their race. Blacks and Mexicans, say, or Hispanics. Those two, and then the Asians, and then the whites who are doing it are kind of going down the tubes a little, or a lot in some cases. And
yeah,
so the blacks are the most guilty of identifying with race, and as opposed to what's right. Per capita, let's say, and it's so like built into them, ingrained into them. They're brainwashed with it from a young childhood by their parents, their pastors, their teachers, other white people kissing up to that aspect of them as though that's their identity, and it's not their identity. And so that's bad for them, right? And so, yes, for that reason, you can say that it's bad to identify with your race, but you have to live in reality, and reality is blacks tend to be brainwashed in some ways. Whites tend to be brainwashed and traumatized in others where they're nice and fearful and fake. And blacks tend to be like, they get it off their chest, but they may do it in the wrong way, kind of disrespectful. I'm just talking in general terms, and you have to be able to generalize because generalizations are generally true. Not always.
Isn't today or this month is Man History Month?
Is Men's History Month? Yep.
All right, and a man is a most likely alpha, correct?
Right.
All right. So if we representing Man's History Month and we all seeing each other as alpha, when a beta be more subjected to color coding and getting into the emotions of blacks are like this, or whites are scared of blacks, and all blacks are angry at whites. Isn't that in an emotional aspect of a beta?
No, that's being that they can be. You know, if people complain, like, okay, say I was a beta because I got triggered by Elizabeth Warren lying, right? That's beta, to be triggered by that. Yeah, she lied, it's wrong. I don't need to be triggered, right? And so, yes, in that sense, that is beta, but it's not beta to point out the differences and to address the issues that each group tends to have, because it can help people wake up and get better. A lot of blacks have awakened from Jesse's message. A lot of whites have awakened from Jesse's message to whites and to blacks. People can actually take what Jesse says to blacks and identify that in their own selves. Oh yeah, anger, you know, can definitely relate because we all are human. So I can hear what Jesse says. Hold on. I can hear what Jesse says to a black or a Mexican or whatever, and relate to it myself with my own issues, because we all tend to have the same root issues, even if the symptoms are different. The symptoms may be a mass shooting, or being a beta, or being triggered. I mean, it's all beta, right? Or being triggered by a tweet, or being scared to confront your mother, or whatever. All those different things are symptoms, right? But the root issue is the anger, whatever, sin, all that.
Well, I feel like I've been an alpha all my life. And
Oh,
the
no.
only thing that
And no, we don't see each other at all as
I get
alphas.
sensitive about is the loss of life.
Huh?
Anything else is basically don't trigger me. So it seems like when a person gets triggered by anything, and express that sight of being triggered, or express that emotion, that I feel that's a beta aspect. And you know, a lot of hypocrites be going around feeling that they're alpha and not really alpha, not truly alpha.
Yeah, man. That's why you have to know yourself. That's true, and that's why it's so nice. What Jason's message is that you have to know yourself and know for yourself, not just follow or repeat what you've learned. And so you think that you have always been an alpha, and that you only get triggered, but you get triggered by loss of life.
Loss of life.
No, man, you shouldn't get triggered by that. I don't think you should be. You shouldn't be emotional about that either.
By a violent aspect, someone's taking someone else's life. That's unnatural. That triggers a emotion in you.
Okay, yeah,
but other than that,
definitely
nothing else. You know, natural death, that doesn't trigger. I know we are born to die, but
are you triggered by race baiting? Because you misidentified what race baiting is, or acted like it's a bad thing to categorize. And categorization is like basic to human brain function.
Like say for instance, when Jesse said earlier today, and I don't mean to speak on him with him not being here, but I'm just quoting, semi-quoting now. All blacks are angry at whites.
Not all, but most.
Not all, some, most.
Yeah.
It could be. I couldn't actually hold account to that because I'm not one of those in that category.
Okay.
But if you do accept that, you have to go and put the blame on the media that has directed the aspect of that.
No, man, that's not alpha. Alpha is responsibility. You take responsibility for your own hatred. When he says most blacks hate whites and most whites are afraid, the whites have to become responsible for their fear, face it, and overcome it, admit that they're wrong. Blacks have to admit that they hate whites, or that they hate anybody, period. Because if you hate anybody, then you hate whites too. And you just have to.
Haven't we seen the hate when white Anglos are afraid of Nubians? They're more or less in a violent mood, or
not necessarily.
Life, so it's like flight or fight.
Whites are pretty rarely violent compared to other, but yeah, sometimes. Anyway, man, I
Yeah, but
appreciate it.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I gotta go.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, nice to hear
Thanks for
from you.
having
Make
me.
sure you call Jesse's show and talk to him about that too, because maybe he can clear
Yeah.
it up
Whenever
directly.
you get a piece of time a day, yeah, I'd try that.
Yeah, call in Monday through Friday, 9 to noon your time, Eastern time.
All right.
And then
I
noon to
appreciate
1 for my show. All right, take care, Naiti.
Much respect.
All right, bye. That was nice, I guess. Rufus out of Kansas. How are you, Rufus?
Hey, I'm doing great. How you doing today, sir?
Doing fine. Nice to hear from you.
Likewise. Hey, I wanted to comment about that Andy Yang business.
Okay.
Them crying like a crocodile. We're talking about emotionalism. You were talking with the last caller about how beta that is.
Yeah.
How desperate does a person have to be to cry with no tears and put on a big show like that?
I'm thinking about, it reminds me of Beto O'Rourke, almost pretending to cry over his hometown getting shot up by the El Paso shooter.
It looked like he was laughing during some of that, too.
Yep.
But, hey, I also saw a video of Kamala Harris at a senior center. Did you happen to see that one?
I saw a headline about it from Drudge, but I have not seen it yet. I heard that she was calling out bingo numbers at an old folks' home. Is that correct?
And the lady asked her a question about health care, and she promised the lady at the retirement center that she wasn't going to change her insurance if she was the president. She would be able to keep her current plan.
Sounds like Obama.
And, yeah, it was a big lie, though.
Yep.
I mean, she was just trying to pacify the lady's questions and try to get away from that and move on to something else. She really didn't really take a serious approach to how to answer that question, I don't believe.
Yeah, I believe I can definitely believe that. She does not strike me as an honest woman. Kamala Harris.
Her integrity was not there that day, if she ever had any.
Yeah, I mean, we saw her lie to all of our faces if we happened to be unfortunate enough to watch in the Democrat debate when she trashed Joe Biden over, I was that little girl. And it's unclear what she was even upset about with the forced busing situation, which Joe Biden opposed by the Department of Education. And so from that, she's fake. And it's enough. And she hasn't done anything to prove otherwise. She's continued to be fake. It's shameful.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If I may.
All right.
If you had to look at the crowd of Democrats that are running for president right now, if you had to make a guess, just off of a hunch, who do you think is going to get across to the finish line to face Trump?
I still kind of guess. Honestly kind of guess Kamala Harris, the black woman. She was a former California Attorney General, and she was a senator.
You say black woman?
Yeah. Well, so-called black woman, right? She's not. She's part black. She's like maybe 50%. She's Jamaican, right? She's Jamaican and Indian.
Yeah, yeah.
She's not a black American in the sense of having the same heritage or culture as.
Right.
Yeah. In fact, a lot of stuff that we've learned from her is from the Indian Times that follows her pretty closely. For some reason, they seem like they're proud of her, embarrassingly or something.
Yeah. I think what Tulsi said to her should have been really eye-opening, and I think if Tulsi really got a fair shake with the big media, it seemed like they're trying to stifle her message. But if people really heard what she had to say, I don't know if that would go too well for Kamala.
I know Tulsi seems to almost align with Trump on some things, and actually she goes further than Trump. For example, with the Syria thing, she was not for any action against Syria because, in her mind, I don't think there was proof that the Syrian guy Bashar, whatever his name is,
right,
Assad, had poison gassed those kids or whatever he was accused of doing. And
she appears to be genuinely anti-war.
yeah,
As the way a lot of them talk about it. I think she's really wants to make sure that we are correct if we ever engage in war.
it's just unfortunate that she's a Democrat and so phony in other ways. Her attack on Trump recently was just ridiculous. I don't remember exactly what she said, but it was just silly. Something about divisive or race something. I don't know. But it was really
That's
dumb.
low-hanging fruit. That's
Yeah.
low-hanging fruit. Everybody's going to grab that stuff up.
Yeah, that's true. But it's no excuse to be phony. Because
Yeah,
she
not
could have done it.
genuine.
She
It's
could have
not.
maybe done it in a more genuine way, but because Trump attacks people on petty stuff sometimes. But he's just
Right.
he just doesn't come off as fake to me in the way that these other politicians do. And so that was
Well,
kind
he
of
was
disappointing to
catching-
see her like that.
Go ahead.
It was disappointing to see her
was-
like that, though.
He was catching a lot of static for his curious approach to the Epstein murder. I mean, suicide.
Oh, okay.
They didn't believe that
Just caught
he
it.
should be speculating about how this fella ended up dead.
Yeah, it was. I loved President Trump's retweet of that guy, the funny black guy on Twitter.
Right.
It was funny. It was what everybody's thinking. Most all the honest people, let's say, who don't actually know, but they're like, "This is weird. I don't know anything. Don't hurt me,
Yeah.
Clintons."
I don't want to be amongst that number of Clinton suspects.
And all the too serious, phony liberals in media are acting all appalled that he retweeted this. They're saying that he's spreading a conspiracy theory or giving credence to a conspiracy theory. And it's like and your guess is as good as mine what actually happened. Even the media doesn't quite believe
Right.
that he necessarily committed suicide. Maybe he did, but maybe he didn't. And so it's sketchy.
I have a history in corrections.
Uh-huh.
And I used to work in places where people were on suicide watch, and we would give them a paper sheet, not anything that they could do any harm to themselves with. And I haven't heard anybody really discuss, what kind of sheet he hung himself with.
Yeah, somebody
We would've
pointed
never
that out.
left him-
Somebody,
We would have never left him with a real sheet.
yeah, a former inmate pointed out that those sheets are paper and that they will break under a 200-pound man trying to hang himself. And that and then the story goes that he kind of kneeled forward to choke himself or whatever to death.
Yeah, and bent his own knees and allowed himself to suffocate.
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible for a human being to fight that reflex to survive. I mean, just to.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, it's strange. I could easily, when they described that, and I'm not into speculating, but a picture came to my mind, and all thoughts are lies, right? But a picture came to my mind where somebody was helping him, holding him against that choke, so that he was, whether he wanted that or not, somebody made him choke to death or something like that. But who knows what really happened? Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I doubt we'll ever know. That's partly why I don't think we should care that much about what we can't know, but just stay with what we know, because there is a lot of people falling to the conspiracy theories, and they make assumptions that seem logical, and then they cling to those, and they get mad if you disagree, and and they like, for example, I brought up a point about 9/11, 2001, that we brought it on ourselves by, for example, allowing these people to come into the country and stuff. And one guy called in, he couldn't believe that I didn't know that 9/11 was an inside job or whatever. And he missed my whole point. My whole point was it happened and it was used for evil. And whatever happened and it was used for evil, and it's our fault that it happened because we kind of brought it on ourselves by being weak, and evil people use evil to push more evil. But he missed that point that we should blame ourselves and look at ourselves and the type of people that we've elected and everything. Just because he was hung up on a side note, which in my mind, this conspiracy theory about whatever happened at 9/11 is a side note. So, anyways, people get hung up on that stuff, and then they, it is in a way it is kind of divisive, because when you think you know something, you start trashing your friends over it. You start fighting with your friends. It's so unnecessary, so dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Rufus, nice to hear from you.
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
Hey, have a good day.
All right. You too. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Andrew Yang, after what he did with at the Iowa State Fair, which I mentioned yesterday, I don't see him the same anymore. I used to think that he was kind of more mature and independent-minded, and he probably is maybe somewhat mature and independent-minded for a Democrat, but he pulled a Marco Rubio, and I just can't look at him the same anymore. I can't take him seriously at all. Not that I really took him that seriously, but he seemed more independent from the Democrats, right? From the rest of the Democrats, besides maybe Tulsi. Like those two, Tulsi and Yang, seemed kind of independent, but now after their petty attacks on Trump, and that's petty, he's a fat slob, and basically went like is trying to imitate President Trump, and that's not Andrew Yang. You can't be President Trump. There's only one Trump, and Trump acts like Trump always. And he acts appropriate, he's humble, and he's real. Whereas Andrew Yang, trying to act like Trump or attacking Trump on physical appearance and challenging him to a push-up contest, from what I know of Andrew Yang, that doesn't seem like him. So it's weird how when you act crazy, it changes how people see you. And I want to talk about Katy Perry too, if I have time. But anyways, Scott out of Colorado. How are you, Scott?
Hey, James, how you doing?
Fine, thank you.
I just wanted to talk really quick about Mario Lopez's apology.
Oh, yeah.
About his trans comments.
So Mario Lopez, guys, said that a kid probably doesn't know if he's really trans, and he shouldn't be taken seriously and given all these, transgender treatment type stuff. Basically, the parents shouldn't go along with it, is kind of along the lines of what he was saying. And now he went back and apologized. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, he only apologized because, the underlying thing is he cares more about his career than he does about his conservative values. Otherwise, he wouldn't have allowed them to put him in the box and paint him into the corner of an apology. It's like pouring blood in the water before you jump in.
Yeah. I don't know his motivation, but for sure it was a weakness to go back. In actuality, what he said was quite weak, actually. It wasn't really strongly stated. It wasn't solid. And then when he apologized for it, it made it even worse. Such a shame.
And it makes me think of a funny story I want to tell everybody. I used to live in San Diego. I graduated from high school out there and then moved to Colorado.
Uh-huh.
But when I was younger, my older brother Gary would go down to Tijuana, and they'd come across Mario Lopez. They weren't quite 21, so they'd go down there and be able to access the alcohol and party and whatnot. But my brother Gary witnessed Mario Lopez getting himself in trouble time after time again with the federales, with other Americans down there that weren't going to take it from Saved by the Bell. And he would act like such a beta fool. My brother would come back shaking his head saying, I seen this Saved by the Bell guy down in Tijuana, Mexico, and he was acting like a baby. So when this all happened, I laughed, and it goes back to what I remember my brother telling me about Mario Lopez back then.
That's crazy. I'm not really into that gossip stuff, but, people aren't with the way that they present themselves. That's for sure. And it's a shame. It's a shame when it gets out. It's disappointing. And, I appreciate that, Scott. Thank you, man.
Well, I appreciate you guys standing on your morals.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
You too.
Bye. Yeah, people really need to hide your, I once heard Jesse say, hide your issues. Because the world is so evil and they will judge you forever. One thing that Bill Cosby did whatever issues that he had, and it came out later, right? And we don't know if the truth really came out because these people lie, but he was up until whatever the last few years, he tried to present a respectable image because he respected the public, even though he was maybe living an unrespectable life. He tried to maintain a respectable image, and there is some value to that. I don't think that's hypocrisy. People call that hypocrisy. I think there's a proper shame about if you're dealing with an issue, you be ashamed of it and you hide it and you try to overcome it in secret and not let it all hang out. And so I don't like when it gets out that people are acting so shamefully, and then it just makes you look at them differently. And people are so judgmental, you really can't help but see them differently. And you never forget it, too. A good name is to be protected. And then you also should actually become blameless. And I think the only way to that is like this Christianity thing. Real Christian. Become a real Christian. Not a fake one. But so many people can't do that. Maze, out of Dayton, Ohio. How are you, Maze?
I'm just fine, James. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you great.
Well, I had to get a quote. It's not a biblical question. It's a quote.
All right.
Christian or non-Christian.
All right.
The difference is the word Christian or non-Christian. There's no difference in the two.
You sound like me earlier this morning, except you're more confident in it.
I'm just telling you like it is. Because you got some think they're Christians and nothing God will approve that they're doing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I have a question for you.
But you don't believe that there's
That
a real
video-
Christian? You don't believe there's
Excuse
real
me?
You don't believe there's real Christians who are genuine about it?
No.
Wow. Talk about judgmental.
It's just like, it's just like they always holler about the Second Amendment. They right to bear arms.
So are
but they
you
never come.
So are
Excuse
you
me?
real about what you're about? Are you
Yes, I
a
am.
real
Every day.
genuine person?
It's telling the truth.
All right.
So as I say, it's like they always scream about the Second Amendment. They rights to bear arms.
Yes.
But they never discuss the God's law.
Yeah,
So
sometimes
if
they
was
do.
about
Some
his
people
law,
do.
They wouldn't need their weapons and worry about
Oh, come
right
on.
to bear arms, because He would be bearing the arms for them. Fear. You wouldn't have no fear.
But that's not reality.
I have a question.
Reality is in this world, most people will never follow God's law, at least not perfectly.
Thank you.
All right, so
But they want to follow the Second Amendment. I don't understand it.
Because of that reality, we need the Second Amendment, and especially all the more so because people are more and more out of control. And you do need to crack down on the freedoms of those people who are out of control, because freedom is for people who are moral, not for people who are immoral. People who are immoral lose their freedoms, and you'll notice that. That's why there's so many blacks in jail.
No, that's the problem is that, you know the video Jesse showed this morning?
Yeah.
And he kept showing about the comedian. So why did it make you feel? Was you getting angry, or did you just look at it and look at it as how did you see it?
I was a little shocked. I was kind of mad because
So
I get a little triggered sometimes.
If he turn around and he looks
Yeah.
up the things a Caucasian do to other people, do that make you upset?
No, of course not.
That's what I know. I don't understand that.
Yeah, I do. I
You
get
don't
mad.
get upset about what black people do.
Yeah,
but when you all do something,
I take it
it's
back.
Like it's
I
not
changed.
supposed to be seen or heard.
Hey, Maze,
And
will
people shouldn't have
you
feelings.
accept if I
You're just
change my
supposed to do what you
answer?
wanna do.
I do get mad sometimes when I see the things that white people do. Now.
Well, we don't. No. I'm showing you how you when you got bright people that don't understand and think that they're seeing, they start hating things.
Huh?
But if you showing them a picture of both sides, or where they're both doing the same thing, that should make you use your brain.
Yeah, but
to say
there's.
like,
but hey.
well, what should we do about it for both sides? Not just pick up one side and showing
Yeah,
the
we can deal with.
that they're doing.
We can
but
deal
show
with.
the ignorance that you're doing too, and people will.
Yeah, but
figure out it's
you're
something
doing
wrong
what
with
you're
both groups of
accusing.
those people, not just one.
You're doing what you're accusing the white people of doing. The Caucasians.
No.
Yes,
I can see both sides. Just like Jess can pull up videos on white people.
You are.
I can pull them up on YouTube.
You can
and
claim
look at them,
to,
put them
but
side by side.
you'll.
That's evil. You should.
Okay,
is that being evil or that being Christian?
I dare anyone to make a matching channel to Colin Flaherty's body of work documenting the black mob violence, black on white crime, black on.
You want me to tell you where you can go?
Hold on.
The
Yeah.
Wonderful Whites of West Virginia. You can go and look at it and
All right,
see the
yeah.
same thing.
I would-
Ferguson is not going to do that.
I highly doubt
He's
it.
messed up himself.
I highly doubt that what you say is true.
Look at it, James.
Because it's not as
Tell me what
rampant.
did you see?
It's not as rampant.
Just
It
look
is
at it for
getting.
yourself,
Hold
not
on,
for Carlin.
Mace.
I want you to take a look
It's
at it.
not as rampant.
The
It is
Wonderful
getting.
Whites of West Virginia.
I'm
Just
going to
take
put
a
you
look.
on hold. It's not as rampant. It is getting worse. The whites are turning black in their souls because many of us whites are becoming more and more corrupt. When you're fearful and nice instead of humble and right, then you're gonna get corrupt, and then the kids are gonna be like, I'm sick of this type of hypocrisy, and go all the way evil and mean and nasty. And you've seen some of the whites doing that and identifying with the whiteness, kind of like the blacks are identifying with the blackness and attacking and hating each other, pretending they love the black people. They don't love their black people. So now, Mace.
See, but James, as I said,
Yeah.
you look at the Wonderful Whites of West Virginia.
Thank you.
You got grandma sitting up in there smoking drugs with the grandkids. You got someone shooting and cutting their
Right.
uncles. And you want to look at stuff, put it side by side and take a look at it and say, like, so why am I afraid of this?
But you're the one comparing. Hey,
people?
Mace,
It's evil.
Mace, you're the one who wants to
That's
compare.
that's
Hold
why
on,
you teach hate.
hold on, Mace. If you really want to compare blacks to whites, then you're never gonna get anywhere because you have to compare blacks to what's right and the whites to what's right.
No.
Yes.
You have to compare both sides
Because you
what's
have to
right.
have a
If you
standard. You have to have a standard of what's right. That way we don't say, well, I'm still bad because I'm white, but at least I'm not as bad as the blacks.
That's not
And then
what
so
I'm
we
trying to
just
tell
continue
you.
going down,
The way
down,
you-
down, down,
The
down.
way you deal up hate, you got people like Naomi and Jefferson and Alexis. You have them every day coming in and talking about what black people can do, and they're afraid of them. So don't you think that when
They're
people
not
like
afraid of them.
your face will smash flat as a
Some of these
pancake,
people that you're
who do
talking
you
about
look at
are
and
black.
You always talking about black people are doing.
Oh, hey,
No,
Maze, did you
tell
know
me
that?
when you find a black person
Hey,
that
Maze,
somebody's face like
Maze,
that.
did you
And
know
throw them in
that?
the river.
Did you
What?
know that Alexis is black?
And shoot them.
Alexis is
I
black.
don't care. No, she's not.
Ah, ha, 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 ha.
She might
You
be in
just
color.
judged
She might be
her
in color, but not
based
in
on
design.
no, you just
So what is
judged
that?
her.
Just like some black people.
No,
like
you're
that.
wrong. Blah blah blah.
And she wanted to come up with something.
All right,
from
Mace.
7 years
I gotta
ago,
go.
But tell her to look at when the man was drugged by the truck.
It doesn't matter.
And tell her
It
to
doesn't
come-
matter.
If you see a picture of both,
I don't
things to
care.
keep people from
You don't
hating,
care about
I'm
that
telling
either.
you.
You're just showing that you don't care about black people getting
Calm
better.
down. Don't get upset.
You don't care
I'm
about
saying
black
if you
people.
take both sides and you show.
Maze, I put you on hold. Okay, so Maze does not care about black people getting better. She just wants to bring up white people every time it's a black person doing something wrong. She said, what about white people? And it's so lame. Maze, that's very lame.
No, James, that's
You're
not
too
what I'm
old
saying.
to
It's
be.
how you spread hate. When you have
No,
people
you're spreading hate.
that can't-
No, you're a hateful
They're gonna
person.
harm people.
Maze, you're a hateful person. You're spreading hate.
Because you say you got angry when you saw that video, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm a hateful person too, but you're a hateful person.
That's right. It's evil.
Yep.
Don't say hateful. It's evil.
No, you're
And that's what
hateful.
makes
No,
you-
no, you're hateful and evil.
Well, you can say what
Yeah.
you want to say about me. I know
Yes.
what type of person
Yep.
I am.
No, you don't know which
And I'm
type.
not gonna get
You
upset.
do not know what
Things
type
like
of
that
person
don't
you are.
bother me. I'm
You are the
just showing
same
you
type of person.
the-
I'm going to put you on hold if you don't be quiet. You're the same type of person that you accuse us whites of being. You're a judgmental,
Okay,
nasty person. Yes,
No,
it's
no,
true.
I'm not judging. I'm
No,
saying
yes, you
don't
are.
take
You
into
are
what you're
judging.
doing.
All right, Mace,
That's
I got to go.
like being ill to the back.
Huh? You okay? You can hold us to the fire, but you're not holding yourself. You were so blind to yourself.
No. If
Yes,
you
yes,
show
yes,
them-
yes,
if you
yes.
show them-
Blind-
You have to be just like Alexis. If
Blind
you show
to
them black people
yourself.
doing something bad every day, you think black people are the only bad people on the planet.
No,
But if
that's
you're
not true.
You're not seeing what's going on around
Every
you.
day I talk about how evil whites are too.
No, I'm
and
not saying what you talk
and
about. Show what they're
Asians
doing.
and
You can talk all day
Japanese
long.
and Chinese and Mexicans. I talk about how
And-
evil most
and
people
Muslims
period are.
And everything else.
Yes,
except-
yes, Muslims and many, if not most, well, most Christians.
And that's how you get.
Yes,
And that's how evil
yep.
get people hurt.
Oh no, that's dumb.
A perfect example.
No,
is-
no,
a
no,
perfect
no, no,
example
no, no,
is
no,
just
no.
When Jesse talk about
This is
Michelle
not
Obama,
what gets people
he
hurt.
calls her
That's
Big
so
Mama.
wrong. I gotta go, Mace. I've held you too
No,
long.
James. I have one question. I have one more thing to tell you.
Okay, I'll give you 30
Epstein,
seconds
he's
because
not
you're my
dead.
favorite caller. Go.
He's not dead, James. You know
Who?
why? Because he had a roommate, and the
Epstein.
roommate leaves, and all of a sudden he hangs himself. You're right. I'd like to know who the plastic surgeon is going to fix him up.
Conspiracy theory. All right. Thank you,
Brain
Mace.
power. So stop being so bright. Get smart. One day y'all will be smart to
All
see
right.
the difference between hate and love.
Thank you for
Have
the
a good
vote of confidence. You too. Take care. Whew. Scott out of Minnesota. Scott, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing fine. Come closer to the phone and speak out loud and clear, please.
Okay, can you hear me
Yeah,
better now?
much better. Thank you, man. What'd you want to talk about?
Well, I wanted to say that I really believe that alcohol makes guys into betas.
I think you're right, man. I'm sorry. No, you know what? I slightly disagree, but make your point.
Well, when it becomes a daily habit to the point where it's a dependency, it takes the life out of guys. It takes. I've done it to myself. I've seen my brothers do it. I've seen my dad do it, and it just brings out the worst in us.
All right. Yeah, I can agree with that. That is true. The reason that I slightly disagree is alcohol is a bad idea, especially alcohol abuse. It's not a good idea. I liked Jesse's. There was a point that Jesse made that kind of rang true to me. He said, "Don't look for reasons to drink. You should be looking for a reason not to drink." And that's a nice point. And you're just supposed to. A man is supposed to be able to do without stuff like that, because it's a petty thing to need, right? You don't really need it. But the reason that I slightly disagree is it makes people into betas. Maybe it makes them even worse. Yeah, like it. You know, you become, you know, rather than alert and aware, you lose more consciousness from it, and you do stupid things and put your life in a really bad situation, and it brings on a whole lot of so unnecessary suffering. Yeah, big time. But I think it reveals the beta. You know how people talk about how alcohol brings out the truth, people are more honest, say? But I think it actually reveals their beta-ness. Like,
oh, that's a good point.
You know what I mean? Because they're already beta, and that's what's driving them to be that weak, to need the alcohol and be so desperate. Yeah. But still, your point is definitely very well taken. It's a serious point. And a lot of guys are dealing with that. It's serious. It's every bit as serious as the pot thing. Alcohol is now like fully accepted almost by most, if not practically all, of the people in America. And now they're trying to do the same thing with pot, which has brings upon different symptoms and different issues. And that's just adding more complications. And they're doing the same thing with porn too. They're taking away the shame of pornography. You see people retweeting this Pornhub account, and the Pornhub account is tweeting funny things, and they're doing the same thing with homosexuality and with sex out of wedlock. Is like there's no shame. People don't even know they're not supposed to be doing it. And then the ones who are, you know, there's Christians who are like, I can't help it, and once they get into it, they can't help it, which is interesting. You know, people are like so-called addicted to alcohol or whatever. And people are so-called addicted to pot and addicted to sex. It's, you're just, you're really hurting yourself. And it's a shame.
Yeah, that's a really good point, man.
Yeah. And, it's like part of that spoiling. We have it so spoiled in America that the masses are just becoming docile and into this type of self-indulgence that now we can't even fight back. We're becoming hyper betas, ultra super weak betas. I almost said a bad word for gay. Anyway, yeah, man. I appreciate that, man. Scott. Really good point. You overcame it though, or no?
For the most part, I've fallen back into it a little bit, but it's not a daily thing. It's not. I'm very aware of how terrible it is for me, and I'm definitely in a much better place than I have been in times past. So
yeah.
I wouldn't say I've completely overcome it because I still do drink every now and then, but I've definitely a long time ago overcome the phase of thinking that drinking is cool or fun or anything like that.
You know, it's funny because they turn it into a pride thing about how much you can take down without like losing control or going blackout and stuff like that, or throwing up, and and then they think the throwing up part is funny, and it's so degenerating. It's wrong. It's it's a shame, man.
Totally.
Yeah, what a trap.
Yeah, and also like a lot of the old movies and stuff made it look like tough guys or like the alpha guys were the ones who, like Clint Eastwood would go into the bar and drink some whiskey and then act like a badass or whatever, which is so far from the truth of what stuff really does to people.
Yeah. And then then you have these fakes that pretend to be fighting it, right? Like the opioid crisis. There's a whole lot of people fighting the opioid crisis, or the people mad about the Marlboro man looking so manly and smoking and then damaging his lungs and stuff like that. But the fighting of the evil, they're fighting it in the wrong way. You have like moms against drunk drivers, and I can't really name exactly what they're doing wrong, but there are evil. They're evil themselves, right? And so they're calling out evil in the wrong way, and it's not gonna solve the problem. It's actually kind of making it worse and more complicated. And then you have this self-righteousness about it, and it just turns people even more. It makes them worse. It's a shame.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
And I go to 12-step meetings, and I see a lot of people who, I've been going for years, and it doesn't seem like they've changed at all. They complain about the same things. They have the same stories over and over.
Yeah.
But it isn't part of the 12 steps isn't go and forgive your parents. That's not even, it's part of it is like forgiving resentments, but it's not, it doesn't push people to do that simple thing that makes such a huge difference.
Yeah. And then the other thing is that I noticed that Jesse points out with people is people don't commit to prayer day and night, and then so they remain mediocre and suffering. One of the callers, Ryan, I think from Concord, California, talked about how he forgave his parents, but he wasn't changing, and then only after he committed to prayer day and night did things start working for him. Because you have to, like in the Bible it says, seek first the kingdom of God, and all things will be added, right? And so he finally did that, and then it started to work. His life started to work for him, and that seemed like a nice story showing where people go wrong. People don't want to face their parents, their fears and stuff. And then they also are not actually that serious about seeking what's right. I appreciate that, Scott. Anything else?
Well, I've been struggling a bit with, I live at my dad's house, and he drank most of my life, but he gave it up. He's been off the booze for like 80 or 90 days.
Okay.
But I'm kind of dependent on my dad. And I live here, and I eat here, and I've kind of gotten stuck in this little comfortable trap where it's kind of stagnant. I'm not going anywhere where I'm able to take care of myself.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You working?
Well, I'm an artist. I've got a Renaissance fair this weekend. I'm going to be vending there, but working every day, no, I don't.
So
I don't have a.
You should get a job. You should get a job in addition, and don't drop the artist thing necessarily, but get a job too, and then it'll actually kind of. I bet you it will improve your discipline if you're,
True.
with the artist thing.
I did have a job. I was delivering food with Grubhub, but I got a DWI, so I can't drive until February. And
ouch.
It did make a huge difference,
Yeah.
to have that other job. So
brutal.
Maybe that's what I need to do.
Yeah, definitely. Get a job for sure. And then you'll have money, and then you can move out.
Well, and the other thing is usually when I wind up with money, I usually end up spending it on booze.
Yeah, out of control, huh? I recommend. Have you called Bond for counseling? I definitely recommend counseling. And then also,
I had one session with Jesse, and I've been considering another one here.
okay, the other question, because basically, like all the counseling in the world, and coming to churches and watching every day and all that stuff and agreeing, it isn't going to change you if you're not doing it yourself. Like if you're not committed yourself, are you praying every day and night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, good. Wow, nice. And you forgave your parents?
Yep, I did that, and
Nice.
man, it made such a huge difference.
In what way? What you mean? What do you mean it made such a huge difference?
The things that used to upset me, just the little things people would say, or the things I would see and be angry about, or things I would complain about, they all just, it's not there anymore. It's like
Well, that's good. Then maybe pretty soon you won't be buying the alcohol every time you get money.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, don't doom yourself, and don't be a beta.
True.
Don't be I'm never gonna change type of guy.
Yeah.
You know, because
True.
you don't know that. And just be patient, but definitely you can get a second counseling appointment. Some people need two. But I definitely recommend stick with what you know is right to do. Yeah, because otherwise,
and I do know what's right.
Life is it's gonna punch you harder and harder.
True.
A DWI, man, that's funny. I mean, it's funny because it's so. Some people need to suffer harsh consequences sometimes.
Yeah.
Because people are not self-disciplined. And
True.
they don't learn. No sense of responsibility.
I had a baby out of wedlock 2.5 years ago, and I haven't been able. The last time I saw her was on her first birthday, and then her mom.
Oh man.
Had a whole story to the laws, or to the police and the court system, and
they
ate it up, and so I haven't been able to see my daughter for.
Do you smoke pot?
A year and a half. No, I do not. I did, though.
You did? All right, Scott. Well, good luck, man. And definitely call the office, Bond office, 323-782-1980, 323-782-1980. Excellent counseling. Schedule. You can schedule it with the front desk. And, I'm kind of talking to other people, too, as I say that, the audience. And it can be done over the phone or in person, whatever. A lot of people call from overseas. So I definitely recommend it. It's nice. Appreciate it, Scott. Good to hear from you.
All right, thanks, James. Take care, man.
Yeah, you as well. So let me quickly, in the last credits, tell you guys, show some of the pictures from the Instagram Katy Perry BF. So this guy who played Katy Perry's boyfriend in the 2010 hit, so-called song. This man, male, accused Katy Perry of exposing his private parts to a big crowd at a birthday party a couple of years after they shot this film together. And that's him. His name is Josh Kloss, something like that. And so Katy Perry has been #MeToo'd, and he felt like he needed to get it off his chest. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. He is right that women are doing the same thing to men as men are being accused of doing to women. That part is true. I don't know about his mindset. He said that after he met Katy, we sang a worship song, "Open the Eyes of My Heart, Lord." I'm sure you heard that song before, Joe. Anyways, I'll tell you about it tomorrow. I reported on it on the Jesse Lee Peterson show too. All right, bye guys. Oh, that's the New York Times. The New York Times picture. We're showing a picture of the New York Times guy. All right, guys. Dean Baquet, the first African-American chief editor He's the one who's like, well, I mean, he's kissing up to the liberals at New York Times and in the media world on Twitter. Such a shame. All right, guys, take care.